I'm seeing consistently. Number one, some of you guys are forgetting what you learned in the fall with your topic sentence, your statement, 2 sentences of example, explanation, second statement, 2 sentences of explanation, example, and then clincher that reflects back to your topic sentence, okay? You've got to make sure you got that. If you need to go back and find the videos from the fall where I taught that and taught that again and taught that again and taught it one more time, then go do that, because you're going to be caught on that. The other thing is silly things like use of contractions. Not supposed to do that. Use of first person pronouns unless you're using a personal example, which is perfectly fine. It's not just fine, it is a really, really good thing to do in persuasive essays because you connect with your reader more. Don't forget about that. Second person pronouns. I am your audience. Okay? So somebody, I don't remember whose it was, said that, you know, social media is the thing your parents should warn you of. Not so much. My parents don't need to warn me about social media. So make sure if you're going to use you, that it connects with me. Somebody else have you ever stayed up until 2 o'clock in the morning texting a friend? Yeah, actually I have. So, you know, that was okay because that can connect with me. Do you understand what I'm saying about that? Don't forget that you are required to have at least 3 citations in your paper. When you're doing persuasive, your explanation and your examples really need, at least one of them per paragraph, need to contain some kind of expert testimony, some type of expert information that comes from your articles, so don't forget that. The last thing that I only saw, and here's the thing, I kind of forgot about it as I was going around, and then I caught it, and then I didn't say anything to anybody else, so I could just address everybody. Somebody tell me what is supposed to go in your conclusion paragraph. What are the things that are supposed to be there?
Revisit your thesis.
Revisit your thesis.
Most important.
That's what people are forgetting. Most important. You have got to go back and review the most important piece. Okay? I know several of you are using like sex trafficking, and you've waited for the very last paragraph on that. So that's the most important to you. You know, hammer that home. Girls are dying. Girls as young as 6, 7, 8 years old are being trafficked. Okay? Do something that hammers it home. Those of you who do pro-internet, that's fine. Make sure that you find something. Oh, we probably need to pull that down off the doors so my next class doesn't think you're going to study hall. Just a second. But you've got to make sure that you hammer it home. Persuasive essay, your last paragraph, your clincher paragraph, has got to be strong. It's your last chance to convince me. Yes?
So do you want me to point out in the conclusion that the 3rd paragraph was most important, or do you want to point out in the 3rd paragraph that that is most important?
You don't need to say the most important, You just need to revisit it in a very strong statement in your conclusion paragraph. You don't even have to tell me, you don't have to state in either one of them, this is the most important. It's just kind of like a general, it's a movement and a direction. It should be sensed. It should just be presented more strongly. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Okay. They're looking good. I think you guys are going down the right road. If you need help, then I am free to help you, okay? But don't be emailing me on Friday asking for help then, okay? Do you have any questions on this paper? Okay, I'm going to quickly hand out your topics for your second persuasive essay. Will you see Kaylee?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to give you her folder and do this.
I do have a question.
Yes.
When we use our evidence in each paragraph, can we use that quote unquote what they said, or do we have to change it?
Say that again.
If we, like for our evidence,
Yeah.
use,
A direct quote?
yeah, can we use the direct quote, or do we use, would that become as plagiarism if we gave the credit to?
No, it's not plagiarism if you give credit, but you need to, if you're gonna use a quote, and this is any of the evidence you use from your stuff, you need to make sure and give me just a sentence of why does this quote matter? Yes, Mark?
For these, you can do the opposite of what they say.
Hold on, I'm fixing to get this. There are 12 options on here, okay? You have to pick one of them. We're gonna go into more detail about this next week, but you can do pro or con on either of these directions, okay? For example, censorship plays a significant role in the digital world. You could say censorship is not very important in the digital world today. I don't know if that would be a great one to go the opposite way on. Okay, national security is more important than privacy. Privacy should be valued above national security. You could go either direction on this. This is going to require a little bit of research. I don't care which one you pick. I tried to compile a list of 12 very different things so that there would be something in there that would spark your interest. What you need to do this week is pick one of these, okay? You need to pick them, maybe go ahead and start gazing a little bit for some articles, but you need to do this. You also need to make sure that it's one that you feel like that you can find enough information on, because I'll be honest with you, I did not research all these things. There could be something on here that it would be really hard to dig up articles on. So obviously, don't make your job any harder than it has to be. Okay, we're going to talk a lot more about this next week, but this is your starting ground. Okay, does anybody have any questions about this list? You need to come in the door with a decision next week. I need to know what topic you're doing when you walk in the door next week. No questions. Don't turn around yet. Okay, so let's do the crucible. Oh, you know what? I bet you my helper. I just realized that she's not in here. Hold on. I feel like an idiot. My helper probably saw this. Oops. Okay, let's do the crucible. How many of you are already overwhelmed with the number of characters? Look, this is just so hard, okay? I told you, you've got to keep track of who's who. You're going to have to keep track of who's who somehow. Because if you don't, you're going to get very, 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 very confused. Okay? So, we have a whole gamut of households. We have the parish, or the Paris household, right? And that includes Reverend Paris. Who else lives in Reverend Paris's house? Blake?
His daughter,
What's her name?
Betty.
Yeah? Who else? There's two other people that live in their house.
Tatuba,
Tatuba, who is she?
she's that, I don't want to call her a witch, but that's sort of what they thought of her as.
Okay, what facts do we know about her right now?
She's a slave.
From Barbados.
Yeah.
She's a slave from Barbados. We know that for a fact. Who else lives in the Paris house? You might, if you're not being able to keep these straight, it might not be a bad idea for you to write this stuff down. Who else?
Abigail,
Abigail. And who's Abigail?
his niece.
What do we know about Abigail? Facts. We know a lot about Abigail.
She had an affair.
With whom?
Isn't it John?
John Proctor. Okay. It has been alluded to that she's had an affair. There's something, either she's trying to trick people into thinking that, or she really did. Okay? What else do we know about her? She's Reverend Paris's niece. She not only it's alluded that she had an affair, but we know that she worked for the Proctors. Remember? Okay? And what do we know about her that she did out in the she do?
Drink blood.
For what purpose?
I forgot.
This is a big deal, the purpose. She drank blood as part of a hopeful incantation to kill John Proctor's wife. Okay, she wanted her dead. Okay? What can you tell me about her personality? Like, what have you, did anybody do Character Connector on Abigail? You did? You did? On Abigail? Okay, what do you see about her? What are outstanding characteristics you see of her?
I thought she is like blunt, beautiful.
She's blunt, okay? Yeah, what else?
She's kind of like self-absorbed, like she only cares about herself.
Okay. What general feeling do you get about Abigail? What are just some general thoughts and feelings you have about Abigail at this point in the story? If you had to, at this point in the story, make a determination, those of you who do Character Connector had to do this, protagonist, antagonist, secondary character. What do you think she is at this point? You all had to make a guess.
Yeah, I said that I feel like she's going to sort of switch to the protagonist.
Okay, so you think she's a protagonist? Okay.
I thought she was a secondary character, but there was a lot of characters.
There's a lot. It is not clear at this point in the story who the protagonist, who the antagonist, or who the secondary characters are. I mean, there's some obvious secondary characters. Yes?
I felt like Paris was the main character.
You think Paris is the protagonist?
Yeah.
Okay.
At least right now.
If you think, okay, so the protagonist, and this is something some of y'all keep forgetting, the protagonist of a story is the person who faces the conflict, the main conflict of the story. So you think that Abigail is the protagonist. You think that Paris is the protagonist.
I think that Abigail's the protagonist because she's faced with the conflict, but also we're seeing things from her point of view.
What is the conflict?
The conflict is, so far, is her going out and dancing, I would say, in the woods. Because now
So
that
she-
she's
okay.
facing the consequences for that.
So you're saying the conflict that she is facing, in your opinion, is the consequences for going out in the woods and dancing. Okay, what do you think the conflict is that Paris is facing then?
Maybe with Betty, like his daughter.
Okay, okay. So the health, the welfare, the well-being of his daughter.
Yeah, and kind of a inner conflict of like struggling, like whether or not Abigail actually did those things or not.
Okay, the beginning of the story tells you that Paris feels like he faces just being rejected no matter what he goes or where he goes, right? That everybody's always against him. So he has I call that a victim mentality. Okay, you know those people who just feel like everybody's always against them and you want to go, if you have a problem with everybody, you might consider maybe you, not them. Okay, next, we have the Putnams. We have Thomas and Ann Putnam. There's something significant about the Putnams. What is there's a big piece of information about the Putnams. What is it? About their children.
They keep dying.
Who?
Their children keep dying.
Their children keep dying. How many? Does anybody know?
7.
I think it's 7 children. She's had 7 children that have, in her words, been born healthy, right? And then died quickly thereafter. Okay? Who lives in their house?
The servant,
What's her name?
Mercy Lewis.
Yes. Okay? She's a servant, and all we know about her in the woods is that she was the one that was naked. Remember he said that he thought he saw somebody naked in the woods, but he wasn't sure, like he didn't see. But somebody was naked in the woods. We know she was naked in the woods. And who is their, they have one living child,
Ruth.
Ruth. Okay? Now the next family. We've got the Proctors, John and Elizabeth. And there's one person that lives in their house. Other than them. Yep,
Rebecca?
no,
Are you still talking about pet names?
we're the proctors now.
Their servant?
What's her name?
Was it Mercy?
No, it's Mary Warren. Mercy is she was the servant of the Putnams. Okay, you've got Mary Warren. Okay, then you have Rebecca Nurse. She is an elderly lady who she and her husband were looked to and highly respected. Her husband's dead now, but people look to her often as almost like a counselor. Okay, she says she's in her 80s, about her 80s. She did not want Reverend Hale there. You need to remember that's important. She did not want Reverend Hale there. Who is Reverend Hale? Who is he and why is he coming?
To try and heal or figure out what's wrong with Betty.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, yep.
He's expert on witchcraft.
He's an expert. I have that written down in my book. Did you see that? Okay. He's supposed to be an expert on witchcraft. So, then you have Giles Corey. He's a friend of John Proctor. Okay. We don't know a whole lot about him at this point. His wife is Martha Corey. But he has a problem with his wife. What's the problem with his wife? This was toward the end of this first act. What was the problem that Giles Corey had with his wife? It was something that should really be telltale of this time.
She was reading books.
She was reading books, okay? She was reading, and she was kind of trying to hide it. Why do you think she was trying to hide it?
Because people thought back then if you could read, you were a witch.
Yeah, partially. Women were not educated during this time, okay? Children were meant to be seen and not heard, okay? Period. So the next time you think that your parents aren't listening to you, just be glad you weren't born then. But then just barely above them are women. What was a woman's job during this time in history?
Cleaning.
What else?
To be a mom.
To reproduce and to serve her husband. And that was pretty much it right there. Sorry. That's okay. It didn't occur to me that I had left that up there. And it didn't occur to me that you would see that. Or that anybody, sorry. That's okay. My fault. We'll just grade fix it next week. So he thinks something weird's going on. At the end, though, of Act 1 is when the actual conflict arises. We still really don't know who the protagonist is for sure. But what happens at the very end of Act 1? The huge problem comes out. What is it?
Abigail and Betty start naming all these names of different people.
They start naming Sarah Good, Goody Osborne, Bridget Bishop, Goody Howe, Goody Sibber, Alice Barrow, Goody Hawkins, Goody Bibber, Goody Booth. And if you figured it out, they call all women. It's not Miss, they call them Goody. Okay? So, they have just named all these people and declared that they were what? What? With the devil. So they declared they were witches. Okay? So that right there, we have the conflict because here's the thing. If you live in a subdivision or you live in a very, very small town, which none of us do, and where everybody knows everybody, and all of a sudden somebody is accused of something very weird, aside from probably pedophilia or sex crimes, sex crimes and pedophilia becomes a whole different conversation, which is kind of what this is right here. That's the equivalent. If you found out that 3 doors down from you lived someone accused of, like significantly accused of some type of sex crime, what happens? What changes for your neighborhood?
Their perspective on that person.
Yeah, what else changes? You don't have any girls living in your house. How do your daddies feel if there's a girl living in their house? What happens?
Very protective.
Yeah, almost a little crazy. I know, if you have little girls like 7, 8 years old, would they be allowed to go out in the front yard and play anymore? Would you be trick-or-treating at that neighbor's house? Not only would they be ostracized, but in a sense, they would be considered, our law says you are innocent until proven guilty. If you think somebody is a pedophile who lives 2 doors down from you, are they, in your mind, in most people's mind, are they innocent until proven guilty, or are they guilty until they're proven innocent?
Guilty and proven innocent.
That's the same thing here. Because everything in this community, everything in this time period, in this group of people says, if you are a good person, is it time? No. If you are a good person, you do everything right. But what is happening is all these people have now been accused of being in cahoots with the devil. And back then, it wasn't, well, let's go to trial, let's do this. These women, as you're going to see play out, become guilty from the mouths of 2 teenage girls. Put yourself in that position. Somebody accuses you of something. Even if you've done it, do you like being accused? No. No. So, there is a whole strain on this. Whole big ordeal on this. Okay. What are you thinking, what do you think about this play so far?
It's hard to follow.
Why?
Just because there's like, just the way it's written is hard for me just to follow it.
Okay.
The fact that it's like laid out as a play
Yeah.
instead of a natural book is a little bit hard for me to follow. It's like almost have to imagine you watching a play instead of just reading a story.
You can actually pull up the audiobook of this, and it makes a big difference. Okay? So even if you're who are my annotators? We didn't get that checked last week. Who are my annotators? Gracie, would you mind, and Becca, would you mind just with their annotation? Even if you're annotator, you can pause the audiobook as you're following along in the book.
Wait, are you talking about this or
Yes.
another book?
No, that book.
No, I think that's actually.
Somebody look at the lit job list. Who are my annotators this week?
This week,
It's due on the 28th.
on the 28th,
Yes.
Taylor, Elijah, oh no, that's the wrong one. Sorry. Ileana, Gracie, and Duncan.
I thought it was figured.
You were, okay, yeah.
Just Gracie.
We love you, Duncan, and Ileana. Sweet Duncan. What? We love you. Pull up an audio version. You should be able to find a free audio version of this book, of this play. Okay? You draw something, please.
So, I did annotator this week on the other book, past book. I thought
You were supposed to be plot chart on that one.
I did also.
You're supposed to annotate the whole thing.
Okay, I'll have to look at this.
I'm really confused.
Where's your lit job?